Hi, my name is Tak and welcome back to How To Camera, YouTube channel where I show you how to camera. Today's episode is going to be on lenses, my favorite part. Stick around. So for today's episode, I'm going to be using this old Nikon lens to kind of guide the conversation. I'm going to start with the rear of the lens and work my way forward to the front of the lens, where you're actually seeing. So the back of the lens is the part that's touching the camera, the rear. And the front of the lens is the part that's looking out. Now the first thing I'm going to talk about is the lens mount. And that's actually this part, the part that's actually the locking mechanism for the camera itself to allow lenses to be affixed onto them. Now there are multiple different lens types out there. And what companies will do is give them a name. And it's usually the camera brand followed by a letter. Don't ask me why. Now to find out what lens mount you have on your camera, just simply go into your user's manual. And it's in there somewhere. Or you can Google it like a sane person. Just put the name of your camera followed by lens mount type and you'll probably find it. Now typically companies will outfit the same lens mount onto cameras that belong to the same series or are the same type. So if you have a Sony mirrorless camera like this one, odds are it has a Sony E mount. If you have a Canon EOS camera, you're going to be using the EFM mount. Now it's very important to know what lens mount you're working with because lenses are only designed to fit one lens mount. If you buy the wrong lens, you're out of luck. So once you find out what lens mount you're working with, all you have to do is find lenses that fit. Now sometimes the name of the lens themselves will give you a cue as to what lenses they'll fit on. But if you want to be more careful and more thorough, and I recommend it, you should look in the description, or you can see in reviews of what other people said. Now for me, in my opinion, you really got to do your research when it comes to buying a lens because, well, they can get quite expensive. You want to look at all that lens's competitors as well because you never know when one might be more suited for your needs than another. Now you may remember that I had said that this is an old Nikon lens. And this is a Sony camera. 2 different brands and 2 different mounts. So how is it that I'm able to do this with it? Well, that's because of this part here. This is an adapter. And from that, you can probably tell what an adapter does. The adapter allows lenses that do not belong in the same lens mount to be fitted onto the camera properly. And it is secure. Now, generally, people who would use an adapter would be people who have invested heavily on one camera brand, but have decided to switch over. And you obviously don't want to get rid of your lenses, so you buy an adapter so that you can use them on your current cameras. If you're a beginner, I don't recommend using adapters just because they're a little more complicated. And using adapters kind of hurts the performance of your camera. Now, by the way, you should pay very close attention to what adapter you're buying and what adapter you need, because this adapter is specifically for Nikon lenses to be fitted onto Sony E bodies. This adapter will not work if you want to fit Sony E lenses onto Nikon bodies. It won't work. You really do have to know which adapter you need. Now, this is the simplest type of adapter. Essentially just a metal cylinder. It comes off, by the way. Now more sophisticated adapters exist. They have these little golden parts to them. On one side you have golden pins. On the other side you have what they're called electronic contacts. And to understand what they're used for, you kind of have to understand why cameras have them to begin with. Very basically, the golden pins that you see here on this camera and the golden contacts on this lens, those little golden squares down there, when you secure the lens onto the camera, they come into very close proximity of each other. Electrical signals are passed through them, and that's what allows the lens and the camera to communicate with one another. And things like autofocus rely on those parts because that's how the camera and the lens will communicate with one another. You tell the camera to focus on this point, and then the camera will then tell the lens to focus on this point. Now it's at this point that I'd like to introduce you to a word that's used in photography, and it's the word native. Native obviously exists in most people's vocabulary, but in the context of lenses, it refers to, well, lenses that fit seamlessly onto cameras. Well, there's a little bit of a debate when it comes to the meaning of it, but it either means the lens itself was made by the same company as the camera, or it's made by a third-party company that has made the lens specifically for one type of lens mount. And when that concludes the first part of the lens video, yes, I'm wearing a different shirt now because I'm editor tagged. In working on this video, I realized that this video is going to be quite dense, a lot of information, and kind of long. So I've made the executive decision to cut the video in half. Trust me, you're going to thank me for that. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, consider subscribing. If you have any questions, you have any comments, if you have any corrections for me, leave them in the comments down below, as always. And that's it. Bye.